Hey gamers, I'm Amos McCandless and welcome back to the GUERRiLLA Report. This month was a big month for the Xbox Live Arcade, and today we're reviewing a few of the most downloaded games on the marketplace this month. Prepare for an all-out downloading spree because Microsoft has really pulled out an impressive lineup this July, and we're here to throw in our 2 cents about it. Let's start off with TMNT. For the young adult audience watching this, many of you will remember the gang of Ninja Turtles who had a hankering for pizza from your younger years. You may also remember wasting countless quarters out of mommy's purse to play this 1989 classic back in the golden years of the arcade. Having played the original, it's safe for us here at GUERRiLLA to say that this 360 adaptation plays and generally is the exact same as its giant quarter-eating ancestor. Same old school graphics, same side-scrolling action, same primitive controls. If you're a fan of those turtles in a half-shell, then you'll love reliving those childhood moments with this Xbox Live Arcade game. However, if you've been living under a rock since the mid-80s and are unaware of who these turtles are, then you may have a hard time getting into the game simply because it feels very primitive. Here at GUERRiLLA, we decided to give the Turtles 89 game adaptation a 7.8 out of 10. It was a great game in the realm of sentimentality, but its value to younger gamers wasn't too measurable. Now let's dive into the granddaddy of all nerdy card games, Magic the Gathering, and their newest video game attempt, Duel of the Planeswalkers. Historically, card games that have turned into video games have always been a hit or miss for gamers. If you're a fan of the actual card game, odds are that you'll like playing it on your console just as much as you do in real life. If you don't like or are unfamiliar with the card game, odds are that you won't be a fan of its video game clone. Duel of the Planeswalkers is a solid game if you're a Magic fan. Many fans, however, will be disappointed by the fact that the game won't allow you to make your own unique deck out of the cards available. Instead, it forces you to use your pre-constructed decks. Don't get us wrong, the pre-constructed decks are all decent at the very least, but it takes away from the fun if you can't actually make your own deck, your deck. However, players fairly new to the Magic card game will probably learn a thing or two by playing this video game adaptation. GUERRiLLA's Magic knowledgeable staff decided that Duel of the Planeswalkers deserved a respectable 8.0 out of 10. Now let's transition to the card game that was built a little bit more for family enjoyment, Uno. If you don't know how to play Uno, then you may as well consider your childhood a sheltered one. The Xbox Live version of the classic card game is honestly only enjoyable if you play online with a couple of your buddies, because playing a game of Uno against the CPU is almost as soul-crushing as not knowing how to play Uno at all. What is a bit interesting is that if you feel like playing with a bit more of a lively virtual Uno deck of cards, you can go to the Xbox Live Marketplace and download some alternate decks. For a price, of course. At the end of the day, gamers know what they're going to get with this game. Uno is what Uno is, whether it's on your 360 or sitting in your game room. I mean, it's a decently fun arcade game, and it can be a fun time if some of your friends purchase the game with you, but then again, why would anyone ever spend so much money on such limited entertainment value? The family-friendly card game scored a 6.3 out of 10. The next game on our hit list for July's arcade releases is Battlefield 1943. If you're thinking that this title just doesn't seem to fit in with the norm of Xbox Live's arcade library, you would probably be right. Battlefield 1943 is a World War II FPS that follows up to the Battlefield 1942 computer game. But what this download lacks in being strictly multiplayer and having limited weaponry, it makes up for in graphics and gameplay. This is overall a fun download, and we recommend you check it out on the Xbox Live Marketplace. Though this game definitely has a lot less depth than Bad Company or other current shooters, with only a $15 price tag, we are pretty impressed by this game. If you're a low-budget gamer or are just looking for a cheap new shooter, consider Battlefield 1943, an 8.5 out of 10. One of the most recent releases on the Xbox Live Arcade, however, is Splosion Man. Splosion Man is basically the more modern, more Microsoft version of Mario, just without Yoshi or that classic Nintendo vibe. Splosion Man is one of the first well-done 3D side-scrollers we've seen so far, and considering what Epic promises with the upcoming Shadow Complex, it seems as if vintage is the new cool when it comes to gaming. Not only did Splosion Man offer uniquely entertaining single-player mode, but it also somehow incorporated a surprisingly unsucky multiplayer mode into it as well. We thoroughly enjoyed this game and all of its fiery fun, and decided to give Splosion Man an 8.3 out of 10. At the end of the day, there are plenty of Xbox Live games for every type of gamer, and those 5 are a prime example of that. I mean, we just reviewed a game for all the old TMNT fans, the nerdy cellar-dwelling Magic fans, middle-aged Uno players, Pyromaniac side-scroller lovers, and competitive shooter fans. Each game will be a gem for each respective fanbase, but may be hard for newcomers to get into either because the gameplay may feel too foreign, or the base of the game may just not appeal to everyone. But generally speaking, when you're debating whether or not to lose a hefty chunk of your Microsoft points, it's usually a good call to stick with a game you know you will probably enjoy more than a game you are unfamiliar with. Kind of the same way that if you're at a restaurant and you're paying for the bill, you should stick to the food you know you like as opposed to something that sounds good on the menu. Well gamers, that concludes GUERRiLLA's look into what the Xbox Live Arcade has to offer this month. I'm Amos McCandless reporting to you from the front lines of gaming.